with stories that matter to you. This is Fox 6 News at 9.
We're going to have a great night, and we're going to have, much more importantly, we're going to have a great 4 years.
I want to thank you all, and I know you're out canvassing.
Now at 9, the polls are now closed in Wisconsin. Voters are on the edge of their seats. The results trickling in from the battleground state and beyond, and the most highly contested races across the country and right here in our backyards. All right, let's get right into it. An election night like no other.
And we appreciate you being here with us. Results are just starting to pour into our newsroom tonight. Let's take a look at some of the hot races, both nationally and locally.
Let's start with the big one, a look at the presidential election results from here in battleground Wisconsin. Still early, and you can see Donald Trump with a slight lead, 51% to Joe Biden's 48%.
Let's now get to the U.S. House District 1. This covers southern Wisconsin, including the Racine-Kenosha area. This was Paul Ryan's former seat. Democrat Roger Polak is taking on incumbent Republican Brian Stile, and at this point, it's looking like Brian Stile will have a second term.
Here's a race that we can call right now. U.S. House District 4 right here in Milwaukee. Incumbent Democrat Gwen Moore will keep her seat in Congress. She defeated two challengers, Republican Tim Rogers and independent Robert Raymond.
Turning our focus now to U.S. House District 5, covering a big area, including parts of Milwaukee and Waukesha counties. The seat has been held by Jim Sensenbrenner since the early 80s. He, of course, is retiring. Now it's Republican Scott Fitzgerald taking on Democrat Tom Palzowitz. And you can see there, Scott Fitzgerald looking like he has a commanding lead.
Okay, we got team coverage on this election night. Sam Kramer and Casey Cronus with Democrats and Republicans closely watching the results from the presidential election.
Our Amy DuPont with a look inside the central ballot count in Milwaukee. But first, we have to get out to our political reporter, Jason Calvi, who joins us in studio. Jason, you have been monitoring these races closely for months now.
That's right, Steph. Wisconsin has always been seen as a key prize for 2020. Right now, too close to call here in Wisconsin, even though the polls are closed. So right now, we cannot paint it blue or red. This was the tipping point in 2016, leading to President Trump having enough electoral votes to win the White House that put him right at over getting 270 electoral votes. And you've seen all that campaign cash, all those campaign visits coming right here to battleground Wisconsin. President Trump himself has been in this battleground state 10 times this year alone. Former Vice President Joe Biden has been here 3 times. They've been battling also on the airwaves. Joe Biden has been leading that battle here in Wisconsin, outpaying and outspending President Donald Trump on the TV ads. Wisconsin has been a key battleground state, and they are really waiting to see those results here in Wisconsin.
We are all waiting with bated breath, that is for sure. But it could be a late night, that's for sure, too. Jason, thank you. You know, poll workers counting Milwaukee's absentee ballots are making progress, but they still plan to work all throughout the night. Our Amy DuPont joining us live inside the city's central count with the latest numbers. This is like ground zero for counting, Amy.
It is. Milwaukee, the biggest city in the state of Wisconsin. Thousands, hundreds of thousands of absentee ballots here. Now, so far, the workers behind me, they have tabulated 102,310 absentee ballots, or about 60% of the city's total absentee ballots. Now, as for that total number, well, we don't yet know. That should be coming in just a bit, but is expected to be about 169,000. Now, take a look. People working, they've been here since 7 o'clock this morning, 400 workers total. Well, 100 of them have volunteered to stay overnight. The last ballot will be scanned in the machine, and they expect that to happen, get this, guys, at 4 on Wednesday morning. Now, once the count is over, the police will take an encrypted flash drive to the county clerk where it will be uploaded, and the final number will be posted to the county's website. Mayor Tom Barrett says everything is going smoothly, and he's been impressed by the dedication of these poll workers and Milwaukee voters.
And I think it's amazing how many people during a pandemic continue to believe in this country, believe in this community, and want to be involved in our democratic process. And so my final thanks is to all the voters of this community who came out today to cast their vote about the future of our nation and the future of our state.
So to recap, we are 60% done here with tabulating the city's absentee ballots. They don't expect the final number, and they're only going to release that final number until about 4 o'clock on Wednesday morning. Now, the mayor, when it comes to overall voter turnout for this race, he said he can't anticipate what that number will be yet. He didn't want to guess, but he does assume that it will be higher than the overall voter turnout for 2016. We are live at the city's Central Count Center. Amy DuPont, Fox 6 News.
Looks like we're seeing that across the board. Amy, thank you.
They have noticed our new look tonight on Fox 6, and as you can see, we're bringing you many new features from up-to-the-minute results as they trickle into our newsroom. There are results on our lower ticker from national races to local referenda, and then the upper ticker features the bigger races. On the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see the latest on the Electoral College count. Again, these results are up to the minute, so stay with us for the latest here on Fox 6.
We are framed with results, that is for sure. Wisconsin Democrats not holding a big watch party tonight because of COVID-19 concerns, but a few key leaders still gathered in Walker's Point earlier this evening. That is where we find our Casey Cronus live at the Biden campaign office. Casey?
Well, it is a key difference we're seeing this election night as Republicans are gathering inside. Biden campaign surrogates have been on the ground, but hosting small in-person events outside, like here at this campaign office near First and Pittsburgh. Tonight, we heard from Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley and Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes, who tells us he thinks it's unfortunate that Republicans are hosting large in-person watch parties, echoing Joe Biden's criticisms of President Trump's crowded campaign events and his handling of COVID-19. Other supporters, like Wisconsin Senator Tammy Baldwin, speaking with us virtually about that stark contrast on this election night.
Joe Biden, of course, has been incredibly careful and also respectful of the best public health experts, and it was this president's lack of leadership. And then his campaign conduct, where he has held super spreader events, including events in Wisconsin where people have very likely become ill because of attendance at those events. So irresponsible.
Despite no large watch parties, Senator Baldwin says she still feels the energy from Biden supporters and says she is confident that the strong early voting turnout will bode well for Biden in Wisconsin. Reporting live in Milwaukee, Casey Cronus, Fox 6 News.
We'll have to wait and see how it all shakes out. Casey, thank you. Members
of the Wisconsin Republican Party, they're meeting in their usual spot tonight in Waukesha County. That's where Sam Kramer is at the watch party for President Trump at the Ingleside Hotel. So that has the feel of election nights we're used to, Sam.
Yeah, hey there, Ben. It's certainly not the size of a typical election night party, but the excitement in here, it certainly is. They're cheering every time Wisconsin results come up on the Fox News coverage behind us. And in talking with them from the president's agenda to his frequent visits to the state, they're not only hopeful, they're confident that President Trump will again win Wisconsin. We've talked to voters over the last several hours. They agree with state Republican Party officials that the aggressive ground game effort here from the campaign, from the Republican Party, will pay dividends. The state of our economy, their financial well-being, access to jobs, that is what they say matters most to them in this election. But partnering that with the president's stance on defending, not defunding police, they say that is why they hope Trump wins Wisconsin again.
The economy is the most important factor. When President Trump was leading the economy before the pandemic, the economy was fantastic, including for Hispanics and blacks.
I believe in the police. I trust that when a police officer wants to go and do something to take care of a situation, it's something that needs to be done. And it's not something that's that they're racial or anything else. They're doing their job.
Now, the Trump campaign says they are also encouraged and excited to see such a strong voter turnout on Election Day, not in absentee. Again, a credit to the ground game. We're talking phone calls, in-person visits, and of course the rallies. President Trump being here 5 times within the last 2 weeks. Again, it's the biggest, they said, they've ever had for a presidential race. We're live tonight in Pewaukee. Sam Kramer, Fox 6 News.
Okay, Sam, thank you. It wouldn't be an election night without UWM's Mordecai Lee. It's kind of different. You're joining us in the studio virtually here, Mordecai. Looking at the map, Mordecai, it looks pretty similar to 4 years ago at the eastern coast states that have come back so far. No surprises. Does not look like we're having an early election night.
You're right, Ben. I think it's going to be a cliffhanger. I think it's going to be the old truism that it's not over until every vote is counted. I've just done some really quick calculations about the Wisconsin turnout. I'm going to estimate that the final turnout in Wisconsin is going to be about 3.12 million votes, which, if that holds, would be a new record for us. It would be a new record in terms of the raw votes cast. It might be a record in terms of the percentage of the eligible voters cast, which would be in the low 70s. So indeed, exactly what we've been predicting of a high turnout and above average turnout is happening in Wisconsin.
And there's only been one election with over 3 million voters in the past. That was Barack Obama over Mitt Romney. So we'll see if it happens again tonight. It seems that the national focus starting to look at Wisconsin right now.
You know, it's amazing. We're an itty-bitty state. We're a lousy 10 electoral votes. I don't mean lousy as bad, but minor compared to when you look at Florida and Texas and California. But it looks like we may well be the linchpin in terms of where Pennsylvania goes, where Michigan goes, and then where we go. If everything holds the same, if President Trump wins North Carolina and Ohio, then all eyes will be on us until 4 a.m.
Okay, and I know you'll be there with us, Mordecai, because you ain't going anywhere until this is over. We're holding you to that. Thanks. Mordecai Lee will be with us all night tonight. Staff, over to you.
We are all in it together, that is for sure. Well, because you matter is the philosophy behind everything we do at Fox 6, and your opinions matter as well. Sharing your experience only takes a few seconds with our new Fox 6 Insta poll. So what do you have to do? We want you to tell us if you think we'll know the next president by tomorrow morning, and you're going to see the results live right here on Fox 6. Here's how easy it is. All you have to do is go to our website, fox6now.com/vote. We're going to be checking in on these numbers every half hour, reporting them here on air to you. Again, just go to fox6now.com/vote to cast your vote.
And you can count on Fox 6 for all of your Election Day coverage tonight, tomorrow, as long as this ticks. And Fox 6 Wake Up, they'll be starting early tomorrow morning with all your election results and reaction. Wake Up will begin at 4 tomorrow morning. We'll see if this thing is wrapped up by then. We're keeping an eye on the suburban polls.
We sure are. Normally a conservative stronghold, Republicans are hoping for a big night in Waukesha. Coming up, we're going to go live to check in on voting now that the Wisconsin polls have been closed for more than an hour.
Also ahead, Milwaukee polls. We're going to check in with the Peru City's election. We're going to take a look at poll locations in Milwaukee. Coming up. Federal judge in Washington, D.C. issuing an order to ensure every mail-in ballot was accounted for. Postal workers sweeping facilities, searching for any ballots they may have missed. Christina Van Zelst joins us live with how this impacted Wisconsin. This was breaking news during our early shows, Christina.
It was, and Ben, as you mentioned, this was an effort to ensure that all of those ballots were accounted for, and the order that was issued today does impact the Lakeland district, which includes parts of Wisconsin and northern Illinois. Now, the order it called for the U.S. Postal Service to sweep facilities for mail-in ballots in an effort to deliver those by 8 o'clock tonight. This comes after delivery delays and concerns the Postal Service wouldn't be able to deliver the ballots on time. Now, this is only impacting the Postal Service. Officials with the Wisconsin Elections Commission say they're not part of this order and already had efforts underway to make sure each ballot was accounted for.
We've talked to our local and regional folks, the actual, USPS employees, and they had already planned to do those sorts of things regionally for Wisconsin voters. So, regardless of whatever a court order might have said, they were already planning to make all efforts to get ballots to where they need to go.
Of course, the polls are closed now, but if you'd like to track your ballot, you can do that on the state's website. We have a link to that on our website. Just head to fox6now.com. Reporting live in Milwaukee, Christina Van Zelst, Fox 6 News.
Nice to know the effort was made, that all the votes count. All right, Christina, thank you.
Milwaukee's Hone Bridge getting into the election spirit. It is lit up for the big night tonight. Doesn't she look pretty? How it will reflect the leader in the race for the White House coming up. So far, President Trump looks like he has a slight advantage here in the state, but as you can see, only 52% of the precincts are reporting, and Wisconsin's polls just closed 90 minutes ago. So We still have a long way to go before that is called. Jason Calvi, he has been monitoring this presidential election very closely.
He has a look now at how the Electoral College count is shaping up right now. I know it's changing by the minute, Jason.
It is changing by the minute. Here's a look right now at where we stand on the electoral map. The race is to 270. That is the magic number we need to get, one of the candidates needs to get to win the White House. Right now, we've got a lot of the states that were projected to go one way or the other, like our neighbors in Illinois going strongly for Democrat Joe Biden. Missouri here going for President Donald Trump. But Wisconsin is just too close to call right now as we just looked at those numbers coming in. This is a state where there are so many open questions about how this is all going to turn out. For example, in Kenosha, that's a county that President Trump flipped for the first time since Richard Nixon back in 1972. He won that county by just 238 votes. That's one place we're watching tonight. We're also watching Milwaukee, which from 2012 to 2016 saw 40,000 fewer voters in the city of Milwaukee. Are those people going to turn out tonight? Or did they turn out tonight? Obviously, the polls are all closed at this point. So many open questions before we can turn Wisconsin red or turn it blue. This is part of the blue wall that President Trump cracked in 2016. Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, there. All the states that President Trump won to win the White House in 2016. We've got our eyes on all of them. We'll go send it back to you, Ben, in the studio.
Jason, thank you. State election officials reporting a smooth election day so far. Speaking a short time ago, officials said it's going to be a long night in many municipalities as all these absentee ballots are being counted. There is no cutoff, so they will keep counting until every ballot is counted. I hope they have some caffeine for tonight. Election officials spoke about why we're seeing some delays in some results, specifically with the absentee ballots.
Some of our central count locations, they're smaller. And so they might be able to add those central count absentees into the reporting units without there being a delay. Others are very large jurisdictions where there's a lot of absentees to be counted. And so those absentees come later.
National Guard members were on standby for possible poll worker shortage. We just learned that did not happen, so that's some good news.
So much going on for both sides of the aisle here in Wisconsin and beyond. Now we are joined by conservative columnist Christian Schneider and former chair of the Democratic Party of Wisconsin, Sachin Chheda. I appreciate both of you taking time out of your election evening as you're watching the results come in to be with us, to give us a little bit of insight. You know, both of you have a lot of experience in campaigns for your respective parties with how the results have been coming in thus far. Christian, I'll begin with you. How do you see Wisconsin playing out on a national stage?
Well, Wisconsin's obviously going to be very important, especially if Trump hangs on to Florida and North Carolina. Then Biden's path essentially becomes Arizona, Pennsylvania, and either Wisconsin or Michigan. Now, if Trump loses Pennsylvania, then if he wins Wisconsin and Michigan and Arizona, then we're at a 269 tie. And then there's, some of these states where they have Nebraska, where they have like one congressional district or they split their vote, and that becomes very important. So Wisconsin is going to play a major role in this.
It's amazing how we all become mathematicians on election night, or at least we try. We try to get the numbers right now. Sachin, I'm going to go with you the same question. Joe Biden, he made 3 campaign stops here in the state. Hillary Clinton, of course, 4 years ago, made none. Do you think that Joe Biden did good this time around? Do you think that he had the chance to sway voters?
Yeah, look, I think our team put everything on the field here in Wisconsin. Not only were the candidates here, both Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and many surrogates from all over the country, but there's just a massive increase in the amount of organizing that's happening through the Democratic Party of Wisconsin and other partners. And that investment has paid off all over the state in terms of massive turnout through the mail voting. Lots more energy and enthusiasm, and tremendous reports of things like yard signs in neighborhoods where you've never seen them before. So I think there's a lot of energy on the ground. I don't think this is the 2016 race in terms of how it's being conducted in Wisconsin, but as Christian rightly pointed out, it is going to be, I think, these upper Midwest states that decide the election, decide the Electoral College. The one thing that we haven't talked about, though, is Joe Biden's very likely to win the popular vote by a lot. So, yes, we're having the discussion about 270 Electoral College votes, but it's clear that the country's ready to make a change.
popular vote doesn't always matter, though. It does come down to the electoral votes. We know that. Really quickly, before we wrap with the both of you, Sachin, I'll begin with you. What is the #1 issue driving voters to the polls today?
Well, I think it's the crashed economy, and that happened because of a failed COVID response, both at the state and federal level. We have legislators in Wisconsin who refuse to take any action for 6 months. We have a president who keeps pretending we're rounding the corner, as even today we set another record in terms of number of deaths and more cases and 30% positivity rates. Our lives have been upended, and I think that is the #1 thing on people's minds.
And Christian, your counter to that, do you believe COVID and the economy is the #1 thing driving voters?
Yeah, I would hope it would be COVID. A lot of us are still stuck in our homes with our children not in school. So I think that's something that really affects our lives on a very personal basis. So I think you're probably seeing a lot of that today.
As we're experiencing right now, as you both are joining us via Skype. So we appreciate you being with us, even if it is virtually. We'll take whatever we can get. The both of you, best of luck this evening.